Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Datejust 41 reference 126334. This watch is available from Chronex.com for €11,790. You can purchase the watch from Chronex.com online, alternatively in person at their boutiques. All their watches are Chronex certified original by their in-house watchmakers, and all their watches are covered by the Chronex 24-month warranty. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the Rolex Datejust 41 comes in this familiar Rolex outer box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and I'll show you the watch box itself. So aesthetically pleasing green watch box. As you can see, it has the gold coronet embossed on the lid, hinged lid, and the interior is nicely finished with a cream coloured velour fabric. So with the watch, one gets two tags. Now for security, I'm going to cover up the reference number and the serial number on the reverse with a barcode, but this is the original price tag, so this is a full set. This watch is a brand new unworn 2021 piece. One also gets this Rolex SA Geneva Superlative certified hologram tag. So this certifies that the movement used in the Datejust 41, the caliber 3235, is certified both by Rolex and also by COSC as a superlative chronometer. One pulls down the flap inside the lid, and this is the booklet which comes with the watch, which is the owner's instruction manual for the Oyster Perpetual Datejust. And one also gets this leather wallet which contains the Guarantee Manual Worldwide Service booklet, and on the reverse you can see it has the new electronic style card for the warranty card. So it has the reference number of the piece 126334. For security I've covered up the serial number, but you can see the date of purchase was the 27th of July 2021. So as I've discussed, this is a brand new unworn 2021 piece. So with regards to the specification of the piece, this is the Rolex Datejust 41 reference 126334. 41mm case diameter. It has a 47.5mm lug to lug measurement, a thickness of 11.5mm, and the lug width is 21mm. The Jubilee bracelet tapers from 21mm at the lugs down to the Oyster Lock clasp. As you can see, it's beautifully signed with the Rolex coronet. The centre section of the clasp is mirror polished, which contrasts beautifully with the brushed satin finish to the oyster steel outer sections. Mirror polish to the flanks to a flawless finish. Beautiful action to the Oyster Lock clasp. As you can see, the interior is finished to perfection. Mirror polish to the top side, underside and flanks, and beautifully engraved. So it's a very well executed clasp. There's no glide lock extension mechanism, but we do have a 5mm EasyLink extension which I have deployed. As you can see, the EasyLink extension does work very well. It clicks in and out of the body of the clasp to a satisfactory standard, although personally I would prefer to see Rolex introduce the glide lock clasp throughout their range, because that is superior to the 5mm of extension one gets with the EasyLink. So this is the silver sunburst dial version, and I absolutely love the dial. Of all the Rolex Datejust 41 dial options, there are numerous dial colour options. I consider the metallic silver sunburst dial to be the most aesthetically pleasing. It is just absolutely gorgeous to look at, the way it changes colour in the light, and it beautifully complements the 18 karat white gold fluted bezel and also the roll saw bracelet. So as you can see, the bracelet is made from oyster steel throughout. The mirror polished centre links are oyster steel, but they're mirror polished, which contrasts with the brushed satin finish outer links. But the Jubilee bracelet is entirely made from oyster steel, as is the case and case back and crown. So the fluted bezel is the only part which is made from 18 karat white gold, but it just is incredible the way it catches the light. It's highly reflective. The baton hands give good legibility. They contrast very well with the silver sunburst style despite being silver. I love the symmetry of the applied indices. They are very aesthetically pleasing and they allow for large lume plots of chromolite. Another feature I like about the Datejust 41 is the applied silver coronet at 12 o'clock for the 12 o'clock index. It's just absolutely beautiful to look at. The sapphire crystal has AR coating on the underside, and as you can see, the Cyclops magnifier has 2.5 times magnification, so it does an outstanding job of magnifying the date complication at 3 o'clock. So let's test the crown action. Coin edge finished, solid oyster steel crown. As you can see, it's signed and embossed with the coronet, and it has a line underneath the coronet which denotes that this is a twin lock crown. The twin lock crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance. So let's test the action. Incredible. This is the perfect screw down crown action. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider Rolex screw down crowns, both the twin lock and trip lock respectively, to be the best executed screw down crowns in the world. They really are an absolute delight to use. Minimal resistance to unscrew it, and the caliber 3235 has a characteristic pop which pushes the winding stem out of the movement. So in the first position it's the manual wind position, and one can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually build up as one manually winds it to its maximum 70 hours. Absolute pleasure to manually wind. The first click position is the quick set date complication position. Rotating the crown clockwise operates the quick set complication. As you can see, it works as one would expect. So very satisfying to use. Pulling it out to the final click position hacks the movement, and as you can see, I have now stopped the second hand dead. So I like the hand winding and hacking complications, they are useful. Absolute pleasure to set the time on the caliber 3235. Now, I've detailed this in my previous reviews of the Yachtmaster 40 and also the Submariner Date, which used the same movement, the caliber 3235. It's a curiosity of the caliber 3235 that rotating the crown rotates the hands in the opposite direction to convention. So, for example, when I rotate the crown clockwise, one would expect the hands to rotate clockwise, but they rotate counterclockwise. If I rotate the crown anti-clockwise, it has the opposite effect. It rotates the hands clockwise, so that does take some getting used to. The caliber 3235 does have more resistance than its predecessor, the caliber 3135. One can feel the gearing, one can feel the friction and the resistance of the gears more, which is ironic because it's actually a significantly more efficient movement. This is a chronology movement, and it's far more efficient. It has a 70-hour power reserve rather than the 48 hours of its predecessor, the 3135. So it has more resistance in the gearing, but it's actually lower friction and more efficient. So it's an absolute pleasure to use, but it does take some getting used to. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and as you can see, that restarts the movement. So I'll just screw it back down and test the action. Immediate pickup between the internal thread of the solid oyster steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. The interface between the threads is just silky smooth. It's just perfectly done, and I absolutely love the crown action. It's one of my favourite aspects of this Datejust 41. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet. I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report it fits my 8-inch wrist to perfection without sizing. So if you're a collector with a 6 to 7-inch wrist or even a 7.5-inch wrist, you'll have no difficulties whatsoever with the Jubilee bracelet. As you can see, the oyster lock clasp is an absolute pleasure to look at. I love the contrasting mirror polishing to the centre section with embossed coronet, and the contrast between the brushed satin finish outer sections is just absolutely gorgeous. With regards to the Jubilee bracelet, no one does Jubilee bracelets better than Rolex. This is the very best Jubilee bracelet in the world. It's aesthetically pleasing, but it is also incredibly comfortable to wear for long periods of time. The extra articulation of having 5 links in the Jubilee bracelet versus the 3 links in the Oyster bracelet is that it's more flexible, and therefore it is more comfortable to wear for long periods of time. Also, the 5 links in the Jubilee bracelet allow for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist, so it's a very comfortable bracelet to wear in hot weather. As you can see, the 18 karat gold fluted bezel is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. I love the way it catches the light, highly reflective, and it's one of my favourite features of the Datejust 41. Really, if one is purchasing a Datejust, it has to have a fluted bezel and Jubilee bracelet. They are iconic design aspects of the Datejust. And I don't like the smooth bezel which comes on the Datejust 41, or alternatively the Oyster bracelet with mirror polished centre links. It really has to be the fluted bezel with Jubilee bracelet. It just is the ultimate look for the Datejust 41. The silver sunburst style, as I've discussed, is my personal favourite. It complements the white gold fluted bezel and also the oyster steel Jubilee bracelet. It just adds to the mirror polishing, and I think that the silver sunburst style just is perfection. The clear AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal does a good job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the baton hands, the applied indices, and also the silver sunburst style. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. Now, with regards to comfort, it's 10 out of 10 comfort level. 47.5mm lug to lug measurement is very close to perfection. I consider 48mm to be perfection. The 21mm lug width perfectly balances the 41mm head of the piece, so they have got the proportions of this piece absolutely perfect. It is the correct Datejust 41. The proportions are just beautiful. The tape on the Jubilee bracelet is also done to perfection. It's just absolutely gorgeous to look at. So feel good factor is outstanding, comfort level is outstanding. Now the thing to note is this is only 134 grams on the Jubilee bracelet with all the links included, and that is very lightweight. I consider circa 150 grams to be the sweet spot for 40 and 41mm pieces on the bracelet. So it's 134 grams, it is significantly lighter. And for example, it's significantly lighter than a Rolex Yachtmaster or Submariner Date. Very comfortable and very lightweight to wear on the Jubilee bracelet, so the comfort and feel good factor of this watch are outstanding. I also like the fact it's only 11.5mm thick, so it's easily going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, so an ideal daily wear piece, but also potentially can be used as a dress piece due to the fluted bezel and Jubilee bracelet, giving it a dress watch aesthetic. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Now I've got high expectations of the lume performance because it has symmetrical applied indices with large lume plots, and like other Rolex pieces it uses Rolex Chromalight, which is the very best Luminova in the world. So as you can see, it has not disappointed. This is very similar to Swiss BGW9 Super Luminova. Chromalight has a very similar blue tone to it. It really is incredible. It's glowing very brightly and it's continuing to glow for a good length of time. The baton hands don't allow for very large lume plots of Chromalights, but however, one can clearly differentiate between the hour hand and the minute hand. And also the symmetry of the applied indices is outstanding, because having the silver applied coronet at 12 o'clock means one can get the orientation of the dial. Also having the date complication at 3 o'clock underneath the Cyclops magnifier means one can clearly orientate the dial. 12 o'clock is clearly the coronet, which is the index missing, and also we have an index missing at 3 for the date complication. So the symmetry of the dial is good, the baton hands are good, the performance of the Chromalight is as one would expect, it's incredible. So the very best of Luminova in the Swiss watchmaking industry. Is an absolute delight to look at. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because this is one of my favourite aspects of the Datejust 41. It uses the caliber 3235, which is the same movement used in the Yachtmaster 40 and the Submariner Date, which I've previously reviewed. And it's a technically excellent movement. The caliber 3235 is one of my favourite Rolex movements. It's efficient, it's accurate, the build quality is outstanding, the quality control is outstanding. It has 31 joules, 70-hour power reserve, which is very impressive. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. Hand winding and hacking are useful complications. The stated accuracy is -2 to +2 seconds per day. So it's both certified by COSC as a superlative chronometer and then also certified by Rolex after casing. Now this one is running consistently at +1 second per day when fully wound to its maximum 70 hours. So very impressive accuracy. It benefits from being paramagnetic. It has parachrome blue hairspring, so it's a highly anti-magnetic movement. It also has Paraflex shock absorbers, which make it highly shock resistant. Another thing I like about the caliber 3235 is it has a 10-year service interval. The predecessor, the Caliber 3135, only had a 5-year service interval, and this has a 10-year service interval because Rolex developed a high-performance lubricant for the Caliber 3235, which reduced friction, but it also had the effect of extending the service interval from 5 years to 10. So, accurate, reliable, longer service interval of 10 years and 70-hour power reserve versus the 48 hours of its predecessor, the Caliber 3135. No negatives to the movement whatsoever. I regard the Caliber 3235 as being one of the greatest Rolex movements ever made. It really is incredible. So I like the fact it's a chronology movement, which is highly efficient, and I also like the use of ceramic ball bearings in the rotor, which make them lower friction and also more durable. So really it is a technically outstanding movement, and I like everything about it. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should be excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So this is €11,790. Yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value. This really is a watch without any negatives. It does not have any defects, there are no faults, there are no issues whatsoever. The build's quality, the quality control, the finishing, the quality of the materials throughout, and the movement itself is technically excellent. The quality of the finishing to the case is something that I most like about this watch. Flawless mirror polishing to the tops of the lugs, the flanks of the case, and also the underside. The quality of the finishing to the screw down solid oyster steel case back, brush satin finish to the centre section, mirror polish to the exterior. It's just perfection. This is an example of the very best of Rolex finishing. The quality of the finishing on the Jubilee bracelets is just also incredible, absolutely flawless. No sharp edges, no burrs. The mirror polishing is incredible, as is the brush satin finishing to the oyster steel, beautiful luster to it throughout. So for a high tier piece, one really is getting the very best of Rolex build quality and also case and bracelet finishing. And also the 18 karat gold solid fluted bezel is just incredible to look at. The quality of the teeth cut into the 18 karat gold bezel is just incredible. The way the light radiates from it and reflects, it's just incredibly eye-catching. So yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value. This would be excellent value at €15,000 because of the specification being absolutely loaded. Solid 18 karat gold white fluted bezel, and that white gold fluted bezel, and then we also have the Caliber 3235, which is one of the greatest Rolex movements ever made. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I think this watch is just incredible. It's one of my favourite Rolex watches, and the Datejust is a purist Rolex collector's piece. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Rolex Datejust 41, reference 126334. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.